Senator Joe Griffo is making his way in here. Joe brought Candyland along. It's very interesting you choose that game with the tie to Rome, New York.
See that?
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive that you remember that. And
I do.
It was an older restaurant, and now you have Norris Candy, and it's the famous turkey joints.
Yeah.
It was originally from Candyland.
And they had the trademark on it. But the people at, was it the which toy company? Well, it would say on here, which is it?
Tal?
No, it's Hasbro. Yeah, Hasbro. It's out of Providence area. Yeah, Hasbro, and they sued because they wanted to add food products, and Spiro, Candyland, and Nora's Candy Shop had the trademark. But these guys lawyered up, and they just kept going after him to the point where it wasn't worth it for a small guy. One more example of big business just taking out the little guy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because they do an extraordinary job in Rome, and you're right. I think they were taken advantage of, and it's something that their parents and were involved with. It's a great family history. It's a phenomenal product. So turkey joints for Christmas and Thanksgiving, actually, right?
Absolutely. I'm sure Spiro will love the fact that you put money into Hasbro.
Actually, I'm going to tell you the truth now, right? Because it's all about the truth. Alex bought the toy this morning because we were in the North Country.
Of all the toys to buy.
We were in the North Country for 15 hours yesterday, and when we knew we were coming here and you were starting the toy drive, we'll bring more toys, but Alex went, and he's got a 6-month-old, so he's probably took it from your 6-month-old, right? But it's...
either way. Okay, so...
It was at least well-intentioned.
I'm going to hit you on the tax issue. Just start off with that. What do you think?
Which tax?
The you know which tax issue.
No, the situation in Washington. Look, we've always talked about, on your radio show, we've talked about, in my opinion, the need for changes really involve taxes, regulations, and energy costs, right? If we're going to have a real economic development plan at the state level, at the national level, you've got to take a look at taxes, regulations, and in our case, energy costs. So in this particular instance, I understand the need to tackle the tax reform. I just don't like the approach it's taken. Yeah. I'm a little disappointed in the method and manner in which the delegation should have remained unified.
I agree. Wouldn't we be stronger if all of the representatives in New York unanimously voted against this?
Well, at least if they would have pointed to the leadership, as we do sometime in Albany, and say, look, we have a real problem with this for these reasons. So for my impression, I think we could have accomplished something similar. Yeah. Because I think we do have to tackle we have to provide tax relief. I'm a flat tax guy. I believe in the Forbes flat tax. But in this particular instance, what I would have suggested potentially, because you're going to do harm here, and look, the state has a problem here too. We have to get a handle on.
I was going to say, on one hand, I'm critical of Claudia Tenney for that vote. I think that she did vote against upstate New York and New Yorkers. I really believe she did. Even though she's saying, well, I'm not all for it. When the final bill is done, if it's for it, that's not her. She was never like that in the Assembly. But on the other hand, this does put a spotlight on New York. We are a high-tax state. We all know it. I mean, we wouldn't have to be talking about this if we'd lower our taxes.
Absolutely, and I think we need to do that, but I think the governor's comments are unfortunate, not to label people treasonous is ridiculous, and I think that's part of the problem we have, the demagoguery going on right now. We're just finger-pointing. So my point is, why don't we look at this maybe with a transition? If you're indicating that you know there's a problem in some of these states of California and New York, we need to get a handle on that. So I would look at it two different ways. Number one, put some type of cap on so you're not hurting the people here right now, so they still could go forward on tax reform but not necessarily negatively impact New Yorkers. Or even more importantly, give us a transition phase-out. Say over the next 5 years this is going to take place, and then the pressure goes back on the state capital saying you need to get a handle on it. If you don't do something in the next 5 years, your people are going to be penalized. So to me, there's compromise and there's reasonable approaches to accomplish the same thing. I'm disappointed in this. I'm hopeful that they're going to come to some reasonable conclusion, and the answer is not shaming and blaming. That's the problem right now. Too much shaming and blaming going on, and that doesn't accomplish anything.
Okay, so I talked about what you didn't want to talk about necessarily, and what do you want to talk about?
I had, well, cell phones for soldiers is our third anniversary.
Okay, I saw that. Greeley Ford.
You had called us and asked us to be a part of that. AT&T and I are partnering together. I don't have all the statistics now. I just lost it, but I think we collected 904 or last year, about 450 or so the first year. We want to hit over 1,000. There's several locations throughout Oneida, Lewis, and St. Lawrence County. Bring in a used cell phone, drop it off, please. As a result of that, what we can do is they'll recycle those. They sell the parts, and as a result of that, they put that money towards credit calling cards for the military. Some people don't realize that they still have to make these calls internationally. We had over 200,000 troops abroad, and this is really an important thing to give them so they can connect with their family over the holidays. I don't have the sites because I'm not as tech savvy as you.
You did very well. And the new 10, Joe, you got to get the new 10.
You got the 10, not the 8?
I got it yesterday.
All right.
I'm on the Greeley Ford, the AT&T plan, where you lease the phone, you don't buy it.
I got to try that.
This phone would be $1,150. After a year of lease payments, you'll pay about $400.
I got to try that. That's a good point.
It's the best way to do it.
So what's the difference between the 8 and the 10?
The 10 is beautiful. That's all I can say. I love it.
I could say something about 8s and 10s, but this isn't probably the
it's obvious. An 8 versus a 10. Hello. You'll have to ask Al Franken about that. What's the difference?
Or Roy Moore, right?
Or Roy Moore.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
I didn't even know about the Al Franken thing yesterday. It shows you how much we would go places, and people were starting to bring it up. And on the way home last night, we tried to put on CNN to see if we can hear Ryan Nobles, and we were listening and hearing all that was transpiring.
Crazy, right? I mean, the floodgates have opened in Washington, it seems. And I don't think this is the in Hollywood. I don't think this is the end. So you guys seem to
see you, and we'll see you again. I think in a week.
Next
we're
week,
be doing Joe time.
We are.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to mention New Hartford schools are open today. There was an inadvertent bulletin that went out on KTV's system that had New Hartford schools closed. So New Hartford schools are open today. To the chagrin of my daughter.
And your wife.
And my wife. All right, Joe, thank you.